Shock at Westminster. In a move no one saw coming, UK Parliament has signed a royal order stripping Camilla of her most powerful title and banning her forever from using the word Queen. The vote passed with a landslide, triggering a constitutional earthquake inside the monarchy. Palace aides are stunned. Camilla has vanished from public view. And now, King Charles is under mounting pressure to respond, or risk losing control. The crown has never faced a blow like this. This isn't just political, it's personal. And for Camilla, there may be no way back. Shockwave at Westminster. It begins with a sound that hasn't shaken Westminster in decades. Uproar in the House of Commons. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, following a fast-track debate lasting just 5 hours, MPs vote on an unprecedented motion. The final result? 426 to 122 in favor. Moments later, the House of Lords, under rare pressure, echoes the decision. The wording is direct. Camilla shall be permanently barred from using the style or title of Queen. No ceremony, no delay, just a bomb dropped into Buckingham Palace. The announcement reaches the palace within 17 minutes. Staff are stunned. Courtiers scramble. Royal aides huddle in silence as phones light up across Clarence House and Buckingham Palace. Some refuse to believe it's real, but it is. The formal order is signed off by the Speaker of the House, with copies already printed for the National Archives. The constitutional line is clear. Parliament has spoken, and Camilla's title is finished. What makes this seismic is not just the outcome, but the breach of protocol. In modern British history, Parliament has never directly stripped a reigning royal consort of their title. Not since the days of George IV and his disputed wife Queen Caroline has the government crossed so clearly into the monarchy's private sphere. The message is unambiguous. Camilla no longer holds public legitimacy in the eyes of the nation's elected body. The crown's autonomy is suddenly in question. As the news breaks, front pages are already changing. "Queen no more!" screams the Daily Mail. "Parliament crushes Camilla's crown," leads The Guardian. Royal staffers begin removing her name from formal palace events scheduled for the next 10 days. Behind the gates of Windsor, Camilla's portrait is quietly taken down. Inside the palace walls, panic gives way to one chilling truth. This isn't just a scandal. It's a constitutional rupture. The halls of Parliament do not act on impulse. Something pushed them. A moment, a revelation, a firestorm that made hesitation impossible. What forced this vote wasn't just pressure. It was public fury, political strategy, and one final trigger that broke through the old protections of the crown. Behind the scenes, whispers had been growing louder for weeks. But now, every insider asks the same thing. What exactly forced Parliament to go where it never dared before? Why now? The spark ignites 9 days earlier, when a leaked internal memo surfaces in a tabloid owned by the News Group Alliance. The document, stamped with the Royal Communications Office seal, details a 2020 exchange between Queen Camilla's private secretary and a political press operative. The message? A coordinated plan to suppress negative headlines ahead of Charles's coronation. The language is blunt. Offer a soft leak on Meghan to deflect. Keep Camilla clear. The public reacts instantly and viciously. Across social media, the reaction explodes. In just 48 hours, hashtags like #Camilla manipulated the crown, #NotMyQueen, and #Royal cover-up trend across the UK. Thousands flood MP inboxes. Petitions circulate. One gains 750,000 signatures in under 3 days. Royal loyalists argue it's all media hype. But the numbers don't lie. Even moderate commentators call it a breach of public trust. Camilla, already unpopular among key demographics, becomes a lightning rod overnight. Behind the scenes, multiple MPs from Labour and the SNP begin pushing for an urgent review of Camilla's title. Conservative ministers, initially reluctant, fold under pressure when polling from Ipsos shows 64% of voters now believe she should not be styled Queen. In closed-door meetings, peers in the House of Lords express growing concern that public backlash will spread to the monarchy itself. The decision is made. Bring the motion forward before the damage spreads further. The timing isn't accidental. The vote comes just 2 weeks before Remembrance Sunday and 4 days after the 3rd anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's death. Public emotion is already high. MPs know they won't get this window again. The scandal, the pressure, and the symbolism align all at once. For Parliament, it's no longer about just titles. It's about accountability and survival. As the motion passes and Camilla's name is scrubbed from protocol, attention turns to the question many avoided for years. Should she have been called Queen at all? From the moment Charles took the throne, debate followed her title like a shadow. Now, with Parliament stepping in, historians, commentators, and even royal insiders begin tearing through precedent. Because before the order shocked the monarchy, Camilla's title had always lived in a gray area. And now, that history is under a microscope. Camilla's title history and precedents. The question of what to call Camilla has lingered since 2005, when she married Charles. At the time, Clarence House announced she would use the title Duchess of Cornwall, not Princess of Wales, out of respect for Diana. That decision, made quietly, was the first public signal that her role would always sit awkwardly within the royal structure. And yet, when Charles became king in 2022, everything changed. Camilla was crowned as queen, not queen consort, despite earlier promises to the contrary. The backlash started immediately. Royal observers pointed to statements made by Queen Elizabeth II herself, who in 2022 had expressed her sincere wish for Camilla to be known as Queen Consort. That phrasing mattered. Elizabeth's wording was careful, legally vague, politically safe. But the coronation ceremony ignored it. The programs, official website, and state invitations referred to her simply as Queen Camilla. To critics, this was a quiet overstep. Historically, there are precedents for Parliament intervening. During the early 19th century, Queen Caroline, wife of George IV, was effectively barred from using her title by a parliamentary decree. And under the Royal Marriages Act of 1772, both Parliament and the sovereign shared limited powers to grant or deny royal titles. Though rarely used, these powers still exist, and the Camilla vote now revives them. Legally, the style of queen is not automatic. It's customary. The crown bestows it. But when Parliament asserts authority over the sovereign's styling of consorts, the debate shifts from tradition to law. Public perception, meanwhile, has never caught up. Some view her as a stabilizing partner to Charles. Others see her as a permanent reminder of Diana's pain. The title was never universally accepted. Now, it's been forcibly removed. Camilla's reaction. The official palace statement arrives just past 8 p.m., only hours after Parliament's decision. It is short, stiff, and unusually sharp. Her Majesty the Queen remains in her role with full confidence of the King. The matter of titles is not one Parliament may dictate signed by the Royal Communications Office. It carries no warmth, no regret, no hint of compromise. It is not an olive branch, it's a warning shot. Camilla, sources say, is furious. She learns about the vote while in residence at Highgrove, surrounded by a skeleton staff and legal advisors. According to one aide, she paces for nearly 2 hours, refusing calls, ignoring messages from Charles, and demanding transcripts of the Commons debate. At one point, she allegedly mutters, "They wouldn't dare do this to a man." She refuses to be seen. No public appearances, no photos, just silence and strategy. Behind closed doors, her legal team activates. Camilla's advisors explore judicial review, attempting to argue that the vote infringes on royal prerogative. 3 KC-level barristers are consulted within 24 hours. The goal is not just to challenge the order, but to slow it down. If the legal team can prove ambiguity in how the title Queen was historically assigned, they might force Parliament to revisit the language. Even a technical win would be a symbolic victory for her. Privately, Camilla begins testing new titles. One draft memo proposes she begin using Queen Dowager, drawing comparisons to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. Another, leaked message from a media strategist floats Princess Queen Camilla, a hybrid meant to maintain prestige without legal defiance. But nothing sticks. Online backlash flares up with every leaked name. In the press, she's mocked. On social media, she's memed. The public sees maneuvering, not remorse. And every move she makes looks more desperate than dignified. While Camilla scrambles to defend her name, one figure stays hauntingly silent: King Charles III. For a man who once fought so hard to bring Camilla into the heart of the monarchy, his absence now speaks louder than any press release. Inside royal circles, whispers grow louder. Is he hesitating out of loyalty? Or is the pressure too much for even a sovereign to resist? Camilla may be fighting Parliament, but Charles is fighting his own crown. King Charles caught in the crossfire. Inside Clarence House, the king's mood is described as vacant. For 3 consecutive days, King Charles III cancels scheduled meetings, avoids public appearances, and declines to meet with several of his own political advisors. He walks the corridors alone, according to staff, carrying a handwritten letter from Camilla in one hand and a framed photo of Queen Elizabeth II in the other. One aide notes, "He's gone inward." Privately, Charles is devastated. Parliament has not only stripped his wife of her title, it has stripped him of authority. For a monarch who waited 73 years to ascend, this is a humiliation not even his mother ever faced. Advisors urge him to respond. But each path is dangerous. To oppose Parliament invites a constitutional crisis. To stay silent looks like betrayal. And to support Camilla fully could drag the monarchy deeper into public rebellion. For Charles, the emotional toll is just as severe as the political. Sources close to the king confirm he feels personally responsible for Camilla's downfall. After all, it was his decision during the 2023 coronation to refer to her simply as the Queen, discarding the more cautious title of Queen Consort. That moment, meant to mark a new era, now haunts him. A bold move then. A regrettable gamble now. Courtiers are divided. Some senior staff push Charles to veto the order, arguing that under the 1688 Bill of Rights, the crown retains symbolic final say on matters of royal styling. Others warn him that confrontation would destroy what's left of public confidence. Within 72 hours, reports emerge of deep divisions among palace officials, some even suggesting Prince William step in as a stabilizing force. Charles says nothing. His silence is not strength, it's paralysis. While the king falters and Camilla fumes, lawyers begin preparing for war. Parliament's vote may be symbolic, but the legal consequences are real and historic. For the first time in generations, 2 pillars of British power, the monarchy and Parliament, stand locked in opposition. Behind the scenes, constitutional experts, high court judges, and former political heavyweights gather to debate the one question no one thought they'd ask again. Who holds the final authority? The sovereign or the state? Legal battle. The legal response begins within 48 hours of the vote. Filed quietly at the High Court of Justice, a request for injunctive relief seeks to halt implementation of the royal title order. The case is filed under the sovereign's seal, but names Queen Camilla's legal counsel as the petitioner. At stake is not just a title, it's the very definition of royal prerogative in the 21st century. Lawyers for the Crown argue that while Parliament may advise on titles, it cannot revoke one already in use without royal consent. They cite three historic rulings: the case of the Queen Consort, 1820, the Royal Styles Act of 1953, and the lesser-known Brantford Doctrine, which limits parliamentary intrusion on ceremonial roles. The defense calls the order an overreach, claiming it disrupts constitutional balance and sets a dangerous precedent for politicizing the monarchy. Parliament's legal team strikes back, arguing that public titles, funded by taxpayers, used in state documents, and reflected in national representation, are no longer purely symbolic. They claim the will of elected officials, supported by public mandate, must hold sway in a democratic system. One MP states bluntly, "If the people no longer want her as queen, no signature can override that." The court sets an accelerated hearing. Royal observers camp outside in central London for days. Every angle is analyzed on BBC News, Sky, and international press. Legal analysts speculate about compromise titles, partial reinstatement, or even a new Act of Parliament. But the courtroom tension boils down to this: Camilla versus the people. And no matter the verdict, the scars this case leaves on the monarchy may be permanent. Palace moves to contain the damage. Inside the palace walls, containment mode begins. At Buckingham Palace, staff receive immediate orders. Stop referring to Camilla as Queen in all internal communications, event briefings, and guest itineraries. By Friday morning, all signage bearing her name is stripped from the official royal website. One royal biographer calls it a digital beheading. For a monarchy that thrives on image, every word matters. And Camilla's is disappearing. A meeting of the Privy Council is quietly convened. No photos, no formal agenda released. But sources confirm at least 12 senior advisors meet to discuss language adaptation and ceremonial presentation. The term Queen Consort is floated again, but the damage is already done. Meanwhile, courtiers at St. James's Palace begin drafting new event formats for the coming remembrance ceremonies, unsure of whether Camilla will be present or even welcome. Behind the scenes, efforts turn political. Charles's inner circle begins reaching out to sympathetic MPs, hoping to sway opinions and delay further legislative backlash. At least 5 lords known to favor the monarchy are approached for closed-door meetings. One proposal suggests creating a Royal Titles Oversight Committee that could review, but not revoke, styling choices. But Parliament doesn't bite. The public mood remains volatile, and few elected officials want to be seen defending Camilla now. Simultaneously, the palace begins planting soft features across the press. An exclusive with Tatler paints Camilla as misunderstood. A Sunday Times piece highlights her decades of charity work. A BBC Radio 4 segment refers to her as the modern Queen Consort. But the tone is off. The public isn't buying the narrative. The crisis isn't fading. It's hardening. And the more the palace tries to soothe it, the more people remember what they're trying to forget. But even as the palace scrambles to protect its image, the public continues to speak, louder, faster, and without filters. What started as political revolt becomes a social firestorm. Camilla's title becomes the most divisive topic in the country. Online, in pubs, on morning TV, everyone has an opinion. The monarchy once unified its subjects. Now it divides them. And no institution can survive long when its people begin choosing sides. Public reaction. Across the UK, the reaction is immediate and explosive. On Good Morning Britain, royal commentator Sarah Winter breaks down in tears, calling the Parliament vote a triumph for Diana's legacy. Talk TV runs an entire special titled Queen No More, while LBC radio hosts call-in segments flooded with emotional testimonies. One woman says, "I waited 40 years to see Camilla stripped of that title. I never thought I'd live to see it." Online, the split is undeniable. #NotMyQueen continues trending for 5 straight days, joined by new hashtags like #CamillaOut, #RespectDiana, and even #Charles is next. TikTok creators post side-by-side comparisons of Camilla's coronation and her title's downfall. YouTube channels upload deep dives into the 2005 marriage agreement, pointing out promises never to claim the Queen title. The comment sections swell with phrases like, "She lied," "This is justice," and "Long live the people." But not everyone celebrates. On BBC Question Time, a panel of historians warns about dangerous populism bleeding into constitutional tradition. A small but vocal crowd gathers outside Westminster Abbey, holding signs reading "Camilla Forever" and "Monarchy Above Politics." Conservative columnist James Whitmore pens a blistering editorial accusing Parliament of bullying a woman who served. Even some moderate MPs privately express discomfort with the intensity of the backlash. International reaction rolls in fast. In Canada, politicians debate whether Governor-General Mary Simon should issue clarification on title usage in official government events. In Australia, the Republican movement launches a new campaign citing Camilla's collapse as proof the monarchy has become irrelevant. Headlines in the New York Times, Le Monde, and Der Spiegel frame the crisis as the undoing of a royal reinvention. The once local drama now plays on a global stage. As the world watches the monarchy fracture, the fallout spreads behind palace gates. The focus shifts to the rest of the royal family. Where do their loyalties lie? Who steps forward and who stays silent? Public anger may target Camilla, but the effects ripple wider. Behind closed doors, lines are being drawn. Old alliances break, new ones form, and for the House of Windsor, it becomes painfully clear. This is no longer just about one woman, it's about survival. Ripple effects across the royal family. At Kensington Palace, the mood is icy. Prince William holds back from public comment, but insiders confirm he has refused multiple briefings from Charles's advisors. One source says he will not be dragged into defending Camilla under any circumstances. For William and Catherine, who have built their entire brand around duty and discretion, aligning with Camilla now would be political suicide. Their silence, though, speaks volumes, and the public interprets it as quiet support for the vote. Across the Atlantic, Harry and Meghan stay unusually silent. No interviews, no comments. But Meghan's Archetypes podcast drops a surprise new episode titled Titles and the Women Behind Them, where she discusses labels used to protect some while punishing others. Though she never says Camilla's name, listeners know exactly who she means. British tabloids erupt. The Daily Express runs Sussex's exploit crisis, while Page 6 simply writes, "They waited, then pounced." Senior royals begin showing stress. Princess Anne skips a key royal charity event. Prince Edward reportedly storms out of a Privy Council meeting after refusing to speak in Camilla's defense. Even the usually diplomatic Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, is said to have told aides she's had enough of the mess. Meanwhile, whispers grow louder about a fracture inside the royal foundation, where disagreements over Camilla's image strategy have led to resignations. In public, people invoke the memory of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, praising their steadiness and mourning the institution they left behind. But privately, royal strategists know the comparisons are dangerous. This is no longer their monarchy. It's Charles's. And with Camilla's fall, the House of Windsor begins a quiet internal collapse. The story should end here, with a title stripped, a queen rebuked, and a nation satisfied. But it doesn't, because Camilla isn't finished, and neither is Charles. Behind palace doors, one final play is being prepared. Something unannounced, something protected. A final document? A legal loophole? A sealed agreement from the Queen's final months? No one knows. But Camilla hasn't spoken publicly for days, and insiders say she's preparing something big. The monarchy may think this chapter is closed, but it's not. Final stakes and cliffhanger. What happens now depends on who moves first. Inside legal chambers, discussions begin around royal law reform, a proposal to permanently clarify who has the power to assign or strip titles. MPs call for a new Titles Act, and constitutional scholars debate whether a referendum should determine the monarchy's structure going forward. The idea gains traction. Petitions calling for a public vote on the future of the monarchy cross 1 million signatures within a week. Charles, still silent, is rumored to be considering a temporary abdication of ceremonial duties, allowing Prince William to handle state functions during the chaos. Some staff call it a soft transfer of trust. Others fear it looks like weakness. Camilla, meanwhile, stays out of sight. But two sources confirm she has retained a separate legal team outside the palace, focused solely on one item: her right to reclaim the title of queen. The word abdication begins to appear in headlines, not just for Charles, but for the monarchy itself. One radical MP proposes ending all hereditary titles. Another suggests stripping royal family members of taxpayer-funded protection. In Scotland, First Minister Joanna Black links the crisis to renewed calls for independence. The crown, once untouched, now looks vulnerable from every side. And yet, one rumor refuses to die. A sealed letter, written by Queen Elizabeth II in 2022, reportedly outlining final wishes regarding consort styling. The palace refuses to confirm its existence, but insiders claim Camilla holds it. If true, it could change everything. Does she play it, or does she fold? The monarchy braces for the next move. And no one, not even the crown itself, knows what comes next. So now, the unthinkable has happened. Camilla, once crowned before the world and declared queen, has been publicly stripped of that title by the very institution meant to protect it, Parliament itself. The vote wasn't close, the public outcry wasn't ignored, and the message is crystal clear: the people have spoken, and the crown must listen. Inside Buckingham Palace, aides rush to rewrite schedules, erase names, and restructure Camilla's role from top to bottom. Portraits are pulled, programs are edited, websites updated, but none of that undoes the damage. The title is gone, and this time, it's not coming back. King Charles, once firm in his loyalty, now stands cornered. His silence speaks volumes. His crown, once steady, now feels heavy. And the nation watches closely. Will he protect Camilla, or protect the monarchy? Meanwhile, Camilla disappears. No statements, no apologies, just silence. But sources say she isn't surrendering. Not yet. Because deep inside the palace vaults may lie a final weapon, a sealed letter, a secret agreement, a royal truth never meant to surface. The monarchy is in turmoil. The world is watching. And Camilla? She's either plotting a comeback or preparing for her last stand. One title lost, one legacy shattered, and one final question left hanging in the air. Is this truly the end of Queen Camilla, or just the beginning of her revenge?